try to call in, so he may be jumping in via phone at some point.
Okay.
Officially, although we don't have any other attendees in the queue here, I did check for any public comment ahead of time, either via email or in the box, and there was none.
Okay. You know what? Somebody emailed me. Let me see if I can find it here. Who emailed me a while ago about coming up with something, talk about something. I said I'd bring it up at the next meeting. And I don't know, I'll look for it later. I get 1,000 emails since then.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll call to order. We good?
At 6:32.
All right, roll call. All present. Stay here. All right.
Whoever's
Here.
not here, raise your hand.
Here.
All right.
I'm here.
I'm here.
Okay. We got John. John, did I see you?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay. All right. So we'll have a moment of silence. All right. Can we approve tonight's agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the previous agenda. Or the, yeah, the agenda, our agenda, sorry.
Agenda. We need a couple more, right?
We need a second.
Second.
I'll second.
Second. Okay. Can we approve the minutes from the last meeting?
Sure.
All right.
Wait a minute. Were we approving the agenda or the minutes?
Agenda.
Agenda first. Oh, and I have to say, I have to say,
Hey, got to call a vote.
we called a vote, right? We did that.
And
All right.
everybody agreed.
And everybody agreed, right? So
Yep.
are we done? We agreed to that?
Mhm.
Now
Okay,
minutes.
then- and now we gotta do the minutes from the last meeting, correct?
Right.
All right.
The short and sweet meeting.
Yeah, I like those. All in favor, say aye.
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 All
Aye.
right.
And Tom, we do have an attendee at this point, just so you could be aware.
Okay. A public attendee?
Yes. Sheila from EAC.
Oh, awesome. Welcome.
All right. So then are we gonna open up the public comment first, or are we gonna discuss tonight's agenda?
She has not asked to speak, so
Okay.
If I can, Mr. Chairman, what they do in some of the other ones, and this is completely up to the Shade Tree Commission on how they want to proceed, but with like EAC and Parks and Rec, because a lot of it is a collaborative sort of approach, they will allow the attendees to come over as a panelist. Since Sheila is a member of the EAC and she's involved in Parks and Rec, I don't know if she has anything that she's going to add in terms of the discussion for the rest of the agenda items, but just throwing it out there as that's what they've done in some of the other ones. Doesn't mean it has to be done for this one, but just in case the Shade Tree Commission was so inclined to do so.
Okay.
How would we do that? I mean, how do we do that officially?
So-
Do we just? is there a
George
motion or
George just promotes her. George just promotes
Yeah.
her as a panelist and she's on.
something?
yeah, if that's what you want to do, I can do that and just give me some direction.
Well, why don't we, since she didn't want to discuss, why don't we open up the topics for tonight's meeting, and then at the end, we can bring her in. You want to do that?
I was just throwing it out there, what other ones have done. I don't have a vote here, so it's the Shade Tree Commission.
Yeah,
Whatever you
that's
guys want to do, I'm
You
fine.
guys all good with that? You wanna
I
bring her
don't
in
have a
now, or
problem bringing her over as a panelist, though.
You don't?
Mm-mm.
No, I don't either.
So why don't we go ahead and do that? And then she can
Okay.
provide comments
If she
in
wishes,
at the
sure.
appropriate time.
Okay, I'm good with that. Anybody else? All right, George, you want to bring her in?
Yeah, I could do that. All right, Sheila, you on board?
Yes, I'm on board. Thank you.
So that's Steve.
Sorry.
Steve here now, and then Sheila.
I can hear you, but
All right, good. We can hear you.
All right, I just wanted to listen to you guys. I'm excited with all the work you're doing, so no worries.
Awesome,
Okay.
thanks. Okay.
All right, so then let's open up the topic to tonight's first. I guess we'll do the old business, right? That's tonight's discussion of possible questions related to the Shade Tree Ordinance. 11.1.
Okay.
Further discussion needed regarding definition of the street trees, as well as if someone will come up to measure the trees. First item of business. Any discussion?
Well, Trish came up with a really great little video that was done on how someone can figure out the diameter of their tree just by using a piece of string and a tape measure, and showed them how to do it. Basically, you measure the circumference and divide by 3.12. It was really cute, very simple. Maybe we could make our own and put on the website. Rather, if they did a really good job, we could use somebody else's. It's really short and sweet.
Yeah, it's only 2 minutes. It's only 2 minutes long, and it's developed by the Park and Rec urban forestry folks in Oregon. I don't know what city, but like Carol said, it was really nice. It was short, sweet, very clear, and anybody with common household items could figure out what the DBH is in order to meet the ordinance. So either we can use that, or we can, like Carol said, we could make up our own video, or even just write out instructions.
Why reinvent the wheel? Can we put the link on our website and use that?
Yeah, I think, this is Steve. I think if we put the link on, and then if we take that from that and give written instructions as well, and then we could put on the application, because we said we were going to put it on the application,
Mhm.
that we would give the fact that we have the link on our website, and that way somebody could go and see it if they're having trouble following the written instructions, if that works for you guys.
Do we have to get permission from Oregon to use their video?
Not if we just do it as a link. If we put it up as our link, if we put it up as ours, then I would have to get permission. But if we say we're linking to theirs, then it's not a problem.
Well,
I
let's
think
do
that's
that.
a great idea.
It's not a
Yeah,
big
and
deal.
it's publicly available. I pulled it from YouTube. I figured that's where everybody figures out how to do anything these days. So I just went to YouTube.
Yeah. So if it's at YouTube, that's in public domain. I don't even think it's an issue at all. But we would just say, here's a YouTube video put together by, whoever it is, of how to determine that, and then we could just put that right on the website.
And Trish actually sent it to all of us. So if you check your email, it'll be there under how to measure DBH. So you
Yep.
can check it out yourself and see how you like it. If we like it, we can use it. It was short and sweet. It was easy to understand.
Really easy.
Yeah, I've seen it already and it works almost anybody should be able to understand it.
All right, I'll go with that. And then we'll do written as well.
I'll
Yeah, we'll
volunteer.
do a written as well.
Yeah.
Do we need somebody if we need a volunteer to write it up, I'll take a swing at writing up the instructions.
If you're willing to, that's great. If not, I'll get a staff member to do it.
Whichever you prefer.
Well,
Okay,
I'm
and
happy
how
for
about-
you to do it if you'd like to.
I will do it.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so then how about the further discussion of, will anyone come out to measure the trees for them?
Honestly, I think with these instructions are really easy, but I'm just thinking maybe if there was someone that was impaired or older or something like that, where they're unable to, I don't know. How do you guys
Yeah, that makes-
normally handle that?
That makes sense.
I'm sure if they put in a request, one of us could go out and do it for them.
Yeah,
Yeah, we could. Yeah, absolutely. If somebody was elderly or senior citizen, couldn't do it, sure, we run out there and go do it for them. But ideally, we would want them to do it themselves if they're
Mhm.
able,
Mm-hmm.
right? Okay,
Yep.
all right. Good. So motion to complete that topic?
I'll make a motion to, hold on.
I don't know that you need to make a motion, as long
Yeah.
as we just had the discussion. I think everything else, if everybody's comfortable with using the one thing I would want is make sure everybody agrees that they're comfortable with using the YouTube as the thing, and or as part of the instruction. That's really all you need to do. You don't need to make a motion just to move from
Okay.
the topic.
Okay, so no motion needed, then we're move on.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, well, it's just, so does anybody, is everyone comfortable with that, or would you like an opportunity to view the video first before we say it's good to go?
Sure, it's fine.
I'm sure it's fine. If you can understand it,
Okay, I just want to make sure.
I'm good with it. All right, good. Let's move to the next topic. 11.2. Everybody see that on the agenda? We'll discuss that next.
Yep.
Compliance issues.
Yeah, proposed change to the ordinance, 3 trees, 30-inch diameter breast height. Item was tabled from February 16th. Any discussion on that?
So that was only part of it, right? The other one is if it was a heritage tree, it had to have a permit, correct?
I'm looking through my notes here.
Yes, I'm pretty sure. I don't have that stuff in front of me, but I'm pretty sure that's the case.
So instead of 6 smaller trees, I think we were going with 3 of the larger trees needing a permit. I think that's what
Yeah,
that
I think
was.
that's going to require an ordinance change.
Yeah, I think
And
that's,
so
it
we
says,
just have to set it aside and just have a list of all the ordinance changes that we want to make, and then we'll do it all as one.
Yeah, it was 6 little trees or 3 big trees, I think. And we don't have the 3 big trees in there yet.
We were changing it to that.
Well, it was originally 6.
Right, but we were changing it to 3 larger trees.
No, my original intent was either or. If it was 6 small trees, then you need a thing. If it was 3 great big trees.
No,
then
that's
too complicated.
yeah. Do the 3 larger trees. I mean, small trees are small trees, but
Okay, yeah, that's true.
All right, so what we need, that's an ordinance change, is that right, Steve? So we can't really do anything with that?
Yeah, so we just need to set it. We just kind of need to keep it in there, so we know we want to make that change. And then when we get a list of changes that we want to do, like we're going to talk about one other thing that I think is going to be a change that we want to make. That we'll start working with Joe Catania to start working through getting it written up in a language so that the board can review it and pass it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've been going through the ordinance again, and there are just a few things in there that I think that we should probably clarify because they're poorly defined. So at least I couldn't figure out what it really meant. So
Can I also make the suggestion that before we go down the road with Joe Catania and doing a legal oversight of it, that we loop in our code enforcement department, since they're going to be the ones that are going to be issuing the permits that gets, whenever you guys approve it, since they're going to be the ones issuing the permit and doing the enforcement. It's one thing that it was an oversight on my part of being a supervisor by not having them look at it ahead of time. Because I think a lot of the issues that you're all addressing right now could have been ironed out by them And, we're going through a process right now for another ordinance. And we had them look at it, and it just streamlines the process so much quicker, and makes, because they're in that world, in terms of what residents are constantly asking and kind of processes, it's good to have their insight on it. So what I would recommend is this committee, finishes their review with their edits and then gives it over to the code enforcement, and they mark it all up. You guys look at it again, and then it goes to Joe Catania.
Okay.
As
Yep.
a lawyer, I'm really not trying to pay a lawyer twice to do, the amount of work there.
All right. And Joe's the township lawyer, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So are we done that topic?
So we're
I think
still, are we still, I have one question. We still have an opportunity though, if we see things that might need clarifying in the ordinance, that's still on the table, that we're able to put those forward?
Yeah, until you tell us that you're ready to go forward, I will not move forward with the ordinance changes unless you come up with something and say, we need to do this in order to move forward. We can't continue to do what we're doing without doing this. But like, I would like to do them all as one, just because it's more convenient to do that, because we have to pay for advertising each time we make a change.
Absolutely.
So we'll put that as one of the items that we need to discuss. So if I understand it correctly, Steve, we have to finish it, send it over to code enforcement, let them mark it all up. They'll give it back to us.
So yeah,
Right?
usually the way I do it with them is we'll go through let's say we have 5 changes that you want to make, and then we'll let the code enforcement group review it, and then as long as there's nothing substantial in their change, I would just go then and send it to Joe to put into an ordinance format. If there's substantial change, then it would come back to you.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep. But that's what we're going to go with, guys. 3 trees, 30 inches in diameter at breast height.
Yeah.
Is that
The one thing we'll want to do is, with Leonard on, we may want to just also run this by the EAC, just because they're the ones that helped us get to this point, and just make sure that they're okay with this as well, because we don't want to end up going before the board and having, a challenge there. So we'll work through it, but
Okay.
just making sure that everybody's kind of understanding what the intent is.
What is EAC?
Environmental Advisory Council.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Sorry, Steve.
Yep, no problem.
Steve, so for the things that I'm making a running list so far, when would you like me to get my comments to you? Or does it need to go, do I need to send it to do we need to bring it up on the next agenda? Or is it sufficient just to send it out as a one-way email to the rest of the Shade Tree? And then if no one objects, then.
Yeah, I would say that as a committee, you should do it in a committee meeting. We can do it. You could send it out to everybody prior, so everybody has a chance to review it before we get to the meeting, so that when we get into discussion, everybody knows what we're discussing. And we can do that. And if there's anybody else that has changes, we could do that. And then hopefully from there, we could be ready to share it with the EAC, share it with the code enforcement group, and then within your next meeting, get it all done. Like, instead of, if you're ready to kind of move forward, we'll keep the process moving so it doesn't take so long.
Okay.
All right. So should we make a motion to complete that topic, or we don't need to do that either for that one?
I think that, I don't think it's really complete. I think that I think what I'm hearing being said is that anybody that wants changes would share them with each other, with the rest of the group, and that we'll have it on the next agenda for discussion.
Okay, so then we table it to the next one?
I think you could just leave it as an open topic. It's an old business. We're just continuing. There's no
Okay.
action being taken at this point.
Okay. All right. So then, do we just move to the next topic?
Yep.
All right. 11.3, discussion regarding permit review procedures.
So at the last meeting, I was to take back and meet with the codes department and discuss a couple things. One was the issue of the DBH, which they were looking at as well. The second piece was to look at the right-of-way issue. After talking with them about the right-of-way issue, they were very concerned, and I understand why, using the 30 feet. And so, because in some cases, the distance from the edge of the road to the edge of the right-of-way might be less than 5 feet. So to use 30 would be outside of what the ordinance is in place. So what they were recommending, and what George and I talked about, is that if you want to use the front 30 feet of a yard as the basis of determining a shade tree that's a street tree, then we should define it that way in the ordinance, and it would be an ordinance change versus using right-of-way. Because right-of-way changes on every, I mean, we have a right-of-way for a lot of streets, but we don't know specifically in every location exactly what it is. And so, well, I shouldn't say that. We know what the right-of-way is, but we don't necessarily know without doing a survey to know what it is from the edge of the road to the edge of the right-of-way. And so, because the road may not be center of the right-of-way, and so that kind of adds problems. So if you want to use a number in 30 feet, or if you want to use 15 feet from the edge of the road, and just be consistent and say anything that's in that we're going to call a street tree, then we could change the ordinance to be accordingly, is what I think was the suggestion. Is that our conversation, George?
That's correct. So if we were to say, 25 feet, 30 feet, whatever it is from the edge of the road, again, that becomes the zone that's considered a street tree. We just won't use the term right-of-way anymore, because right-of-way doesn't really fall into that. It could be less than that, and it could muddy the water.
All right, so then dependent upon the situation, either could be applied dependent upon each individual request. Is that right?
If we set it up as like 25 feet, then it would always be consistent, and it would be easy for anybody to measure back 25 feet and know the answer. And I'm picking that and throwing it out, but whatever footage that you want to recommend the change to be, then we would always know what that is.
And that's from the edge of the road, right? Not the right of way.
Correct. We would take the term right of way out, and that way everyone, it would be very easy for everyone to know, and it wouldn't be different for every road.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that provides a lot more clarity and reduces the potential for confusion. So I support that.
Why
do
don't we add the term paved edge of the road so we don't get in a. What
That makes sense.
constitutes the edge of the road.
Mhm.
Paved edge of road, okay. So we need to agree on a distance?
Yeah, I would suggest that, I mean, we don't have to do it tonight, but before we're going to make the changes that we're going to do as part of the ordinance, we would want to do that. So, you know, if you want to start discussing it this evening, you can. If you want to, everybody wants to think about it and bring it back at the next meeting when we do all the discussion. But it probably wouldn't hurt to at least throw out some numbers so that you all kind of start thinking in the direction of what that you think is wise, you know, because if somebody has a very difference of opinion between now and the next meeting, maybe we could come up with something that works for everybody.
You know, I'm going to defer to Rob. I don't have an opinion on it.
Oh,
What's that?
I'm going to defer to you, Rob. I don't have an opinion on it, of what the distance should be. You're the
Well,
tree guy.
John said the paved part, but there's non-paved roads in this township. So you can't say paved, right? Correct?
Yeah, I think if you say edge, and this is George.
Edge
sorry,
of road, yeah.
Yeah, if you say edge of the cartway, because that's considered to be the road surface, no matter what
Yeah.
that surface is.
Correct.
okay. Edge of the carway.
And Trish said 30 feet, you know, Springfield's 50, whatever we decide is fine, you know. I mean, basically it's whatever the canopy's gonna, like, if it can reach like the edge of the road or like over the sidewalk in Springfield, it's considered a like street tree. Even has potential to, like if it's a large tree, even though it's back and it's not done it yet, and it has a capability of doing it, it's considered a shade tree in Springfield.
So that's 50 feet easy, right? Because it's going to have a 100-foot spread on it.
Well, it depends what tree it is.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but we're going to try to catch them all,
But
right?
then if it's a tree with a 100-foot spread, it's in the heritage tree anyway, so
Yeah,
I was gonna say, that's
don't
gonna be a
matter where
big
it's
tree.
located on your property.
that's true.
Yeah, I'm just concerned that, that given the size of some of I know there's a lot of big lots around here, but I'm just concerned that if we go much larger than 50 just seems a little big, just because it just seems like it's going to reach into the backyards for some people, and I just don't know.
Well,
really what we're trying to
It only goes to the
Well,
front of the house.
do. Okay,
yeah, I think we would
30
limit
to
it to the
of
front.
house.
You know, if it's 50 feet or to the front of the house, whichever is less.
I'm fine with that, as long as it doesn't extend into somebody's backyard.
We might as well stick with the 30 or front of the house, which is what we've been talking about ever
Yeah, it doesn't matter to
so
me.
far.
I
I'm
don't
going-
care. I don't care.
30 feet works for me.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
30 feet, all right. Progress.
Woo-hoo.
And then the only other thing that we kind of want to figure out, and we want to make sure it's really clear, because you're saying that some of the permits you're okay with the codes department approving, and without necessarily coming before you. And so I just want to be really clear of what the expectation is there, what comes before you, and what the codes department is going to approve. And so that, so that it's we'll put that, it will also be put back into the ordinance so that it's very precise. But I'm not 100% sure where we landed on that. And so I just want to make sure that we're clear on that related to the permit.
So do we know what that is?
Yeah, we talked about that last time. So I think it
Yep.
was anything, if it was a land development, it came to us. If
Yeah.
it was just one or two little trees or something, that codes would take it. If it was a heritage tree, it came to us. I think if it was the three big ones, the three, 30-inch trees, I think it would come to us. But most other little things, were going to be let the codes do it, but I think it was heritage tree, the three biggies, and land development. I think those were the three items.
Okay, I just want to make sure I did know those things were, but I didn't know if there was, so anything else would go just to the codes. So that would mean that we would still do a permit for these other things. It just wouldn't come before you.
Unless they have questions and want to bring them to us, that's up to them.
Yeah, right.
Or have
But
concern
I-
for one reason or another.
Yeah,
Well, Steve,
okay, I just, go ahead.
it's right now it's written before we change it, before we put our change in, it's not the three big trees yet. It's still the 12 inches more,
Correct.
right? Which I don't have a
Correct.
problem with the codes department giving an approval on that. You know what I mean?
Okay,
I think they're smart enough
Yep.
that they could figure out if it's going to be detrimental to the property or really screw things up. You know what I'm saying? I don't have a problem
Yep.
with that. Even with the three large trees, they could be spread out over, 2 acres and it makes no real impact. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you need
Right.
the permit, but it has no impact really on the property, for them to make the decision. And could they, if they didn't feel comfortable, could they throw it back to us?
Yeah, they can always throw it back to you, but I just want to be, it's always one of these things. So when we're as staff, we're always very careful to take action and only act within our authority that's given to us by either a board or a commission, and ultimately the board of supervisors does that. And so, but we're if there's ever a question, we always take it back. But if there's certain things that you always want to see, we want to know what those things are, and we want to be very clear, because that way there's never a question, and we know that goes before you always. And if there is a question in what we're looking at, then it will come before you. But if it's on the other side and it's not in a gray area and it's not in one of those things that you all want to see for sure, then they'll act on it. But we like to know what's our playground, so to speak, that we can act in and not be running afoul of what the expectation is or what the ordinance is.
I mean, I don't have a problem with the codes department doing it. I mean, I don't know how everybody else feels, but I mean, I'm not that power hungry that I think we should approve every 3 trees or 6 trees that are taken down 12 inches in,
My
diameter or
concern,
whatever.
my concern is, if you've got 3 big trees spread even 60 feet apart on the edge of the road, that shades the whole road. If they're going to take all 3 of them down, it changes the whole look, even if they're 75 feet apart.
Yeah, but at that case, they could approve it if they're like hazardous or something like that. But if they're not hazardous and people just want to take them down and it's in a gray area, they can send it back to us. That's what I was asking. It's not like a definite that they'll approve it or not approve it. They can send it back to us if they're not sure in that case.
But at what point are they sure? Does it have to come to us? You're sort of saying nothing has to come to us.
So one of the things that we are doing, and the board is, we have an RFP out right now for a township arborist.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it may be that what we would say is that the arborist determines that the tree is a safety issue. If the township's arborist would determine that the tree is a safety issue and is hazardous, then the codes department with the arborist could make the decision. And so that may be one way to do it. And then if not, everything comes to you. If you want some kind of clarification with it that way.
That works for me.
That sounds good.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's important that we don't delay some people's project unnecessarily.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Did you get that, Carol?
We good? Steve, anything else?
Oh,
You didn't get it?
No, I don't.
Did we have to vote?
Do we have to vote on that? No, I don't, just make a motion to complete the topic, right? Right, we talked about the right of way, we were gonna leave it at 30 feet. Right,
Yeah.
and it'll be from the edge of the cartway or road, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then what will codes approve and what will come before the Shade Tree Commission, right? We
Yep.
tabling that or are we voting on that?
Well, I think that because, again, these all fall under things that are going to be required changes to the ordinance. Because right
Okay.
now, the ordinance says everything comes to you. And so if we're going to change that and say that part of it can be reviewed by staff, then, and the arborist, then we need to have that so that it's clear and directed in the ordinance.
and get an arborist, yeah.
So these trees will have to be, if they have to be removed for whatever cause, the arborist has to see them first, or,
Yeah, if somebody comes in and says, hey, our trees are hazardous, we would just send the arborist out to take a look at them. And if the arborist agreed, we wouldn't wait till it came back before you. And
Okay.
we would go ahead and take them down. If that's what I'm hearing you say is okay. And if that's the case, then we would move forward and just get it done.
is there any way we could stipulate that a tree that's been there for 100 years, or 75 years, and the homeowner says, well, gee, I'm afraid somebody's gonna hit that tree. Does
Well,
that mean you can
that's
take
not,
it down?
when I look at a hazardous tree, I look at a tree that's in imminent danger of falling over. I mean,
That's fine.
a hazardous tree is just, if we think it's hazardous because of where it sits, I mean, I think that we have time to bring it back before you because it's been
Okay.
sitting there for 100 years, right? I mean, it's nothing new.
Right.
But if the tree is, if the tree is all of
Yeah.
a sudden because of a storm started leaning, that would be the one that I would argue is hazardous and needs attention today, if that makes
I'm
sense.
fine with that.
So then do we need to provide a definition or is it in here? I'll look.
I
but-
think there is a definition in the ordinance. We'll just make sure that it's clear.
Yep, I think you're right. Actually, it's
So
not.
are we, Steve?
Hazardous tree isn't defined, is it, or at least it isn't in the list of definitions in the ordinance. So,
Well, then we'll come up with one, then we'll put it in there.
okay.
Okay,
Well,
so
I
then
know in Springfield,
we're leaving this
there's a
topic open
hazardous
then, right?
tree that was like storm damage or something like that. The permit's
Yep.
waived. I mean, you can basically take it down. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yep.
There's no question. You don't have to wait for the township to open. You don't have to, you can do it. If it's a storm tree and it's dangerous, you can take it down without in their right of way or whatever, without getting a permit.
Who determines that though?
What's that?
Who determines whether it's a hazard or not? Because
If
Right,
a storm
they're all
comes in and
hazardous.
it's leaning or broken all apart or split, the
Yeah, but-
contractor that comes in
yeah,
there,
but what if it's none of those things? The guy just
I
thinks
know,
it's
because
hazardous.
I've been on jobs before where we've taken down trees and the township shows up and I told him it was a hazard and it was. And he's like, they're all hazards. You know, they want to see it first. That was Lower Merion.
well, I'm
Yeah.
just telling you what Springfield does.
Yeah,
Yeah.
When a storm comes through, a known storm, it's,
That's the time
there's
to remove
devastation.
all your trees.
Yeah, I think that's personally, I think that's sort of a slippery slope and I think we should just stick to what the intent of the ordinance is right now. And then if it is becoming a problem where those kinds of situations occur, but I wouldn't feel comfortable with that.
I mean, look, we know that there are times that in a storm, our public works team makes a call, and if they feel like it's an imminent danger, they'll take care of it right there on the spot, like, you know, or they'll say, yes, this needs to be done right away. I mean, and we've had those things, you know, a tree breaks in half, part of it's across the road and part of it's leaning, it's got a power line in it or something like that. You know, we're not going to stop those things from being taken care of, because that's immediate. And so, and we'll do that, and then we'll report back. That'll just become part of reporting back to you all of what's happened, particularly if a heritage tree is involved, because, you know, if we start recording heritage trees, we're going to want to know that. And so, you know, those kind of things we'll just work through. But I think the thing that tends to happen is, you know, a windstorm comes through and a tree just starts to lean a little bit, and a property owner decides that it's leaning more than what they like. But then, you know, we've had arborists go out and say, it's not leaning enough that it's an issue, you know, and so it's those kind of things that I think is where it's going to come back, and it's going to be a review and a decision what might need to be made by you all after the arborist has taken a look at it. If that makes sense.
You know, I've got a spruce tree across the street from me. It's been leaning for 10 years. I keep waiting for it to fall and take down the power lines, the primaries. It hasn't fallen, you know, but I keep every day, I'm like, man, it's getting closer. Looks like it is, but it hasn't fallen.
Yeah.
You know? So, that would be a gray area.
I've had the electric company come out at Appleford and look at trees.
You know what though, John? It's
"No,
across
that's
the
okay."
street. They've already been through. Asplin's been through. It's across the street. And if it falls, it would catch him. But it's all the way across the street. So it's not like it's imminent. It's not like it's right there.
Mhm.
They let it go. They didn't touch it. But I swear one of these days it's going to take the lines out. We'll see.
But yeah, eventually, all trees fall eventually.
Yeah, eventually.
They all fall eventually.
All right. So we leave this topic open, right, Steve?
Yeah.
We're not done with it?
Yeah,
This is
we'll
the-
just leave it
we need an
open
ordinance
because
change?
it'll be all a part of the ordinance change. But we
Okay.
have enough from the discussion to make sure that we know what we want to do, and we need to start putting together like all these changes in a list so that we can go through and say in section 1, article whatever, section 2, paragraph B, we want to change this. That's the kind of thing that we need to do, and so we'll have to go back and look at that. And so we'll help you go through that process, and I'll get the ordinance with some of these things and look at the places next time that we think they need to be changed.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm good. Everybody good? Moving
Yep.
on?
Yep.
We good?
Yep.
11.4. This is a good one. Discussion about a list of approved trees. Well done, Carol. Well done. I like them all. Everybody look at that?
John sent a list too.
It was 2.
You didn't like my trees?
No, your trees, you had very good trees. There was a couple that I wouldn't use as street trees, or a couple that I wouldn't use, like I wouldn't use a red maple because the lanternfly loved them. And I wouldn't plant my
Lanternflies love everything.
well, they like some things more than others. But I also wouldn't put the juniperous the juniper next to the crabapple, or you're gonna have
Cedar
cedar
apple
apple rust. But yeah, so I did my list, which I emailed to all of you about which are, sorry, George, I didn't email it to you. You'll just have to take our word for it. I'll send it to you. You know, big and native, medium and native, medium and non-native, because there's some really cool non-native trees in the medium size.
Yeah, my
And
list is
small-
all native.
And
it's
small
in
and
Eng-
native.
And it's in English, so you can know what you're talking about.
Yes, you'd use common names. I only use botanics. I'm so used to using botanic names. I'd have to actually look up the common name.
No, you wouldn't.
I'm the exact opposite.
Yeah,
Well, this has got so many darn common names that, but anyhow, I think we all have to like put in our lists, or I can't wait for in-person meetings where we can just sort of put pass a paper around and say, I like this, I don't like this. It all
Well,
depends upon what people want in there. For street trees, you're probably going to want something that's going to be big, not small, unless you're going to do oaks with an understory of dogwoods or something.
Well, and I think we also, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think we also want some trees that make sense if they're going to be planted under power lines that don't grow as
Right.
tall.
sure.
So like, I think we might say like these 5 trees or 10 trees, whatever the number is, are fine for being planted under power lines.
Mm-hmm. No beech trees under power lines? Or tulip poplars?
would you like, I can share my
Business
screen.
Rob.
What?
Say again?
Would you like me to share my screen and then we can show the list?
Sure. Well, Tom and Bob, you guys get called upon to plant trees all the time, I assume. What are people like?
So,
Maples.
what's that, Rob?
They plant maples mostly. They like October glory maples, red sunsets. Some people like oaks. Depending how big they want it to get. Either a pin oak or whatever. I mean, white oaks grow slow.
Yeah,
Any of the oak varieties is good.
I like willow oak just because it's faster growing.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
We plant just about everything on this list except for the sycamore, the tulip, and the black gum. Sycamores are a mess. They make a hell of a mess.
Yeah, I left.
I mean, I wouldn't put river birch in there as a tree. They're pretty
They're
crafty.
they're
Yeah,
messy as
they're-
hell.
And if
They
you
are
get them near a
perfect.
sidewalk, you're just gonna have problems if you get them with the roots and all in a front yard or whatever like
Yeah.
that.
Well, sycamores are often used as street trees, even though they are messy, with the fruits and the big leaves.
That's because they're growing concrete.
Oh, yeah, true. Yeah, they'll grow in anything. Yeah. Well, I was trying to pick things for the street trees, the biggest ones, for ones that don't have. I mean, I didn't include any Aesculus, horse chestnuts or buckeyes, because they have the big messy fruits. No walnuts. The trees that naturally would grow in a woodland. I wouldn't put them as street trees either. Except for maybe in Trisha's yard, because her front yard is a woodland. But
I put
Yeah,
but- elm.
sassafras in, and I don't know if you can even get sassafras trees.
oh, you can, and you can grow them. The thing is, they colonize. They they multiply and keep sending up new shoots. So you have to have an area for them because they'll take over an area. They never stay as just one tree.
They
They're really cool.
colonize.
They're
It's
really
like a
cool.
Rosie
I love
Sharon,
them.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're a
That
pretty
and what's
tree.
A pawpaw is the other one it's a really cool tree, but it also colonizes. So it makes it a mess.
How about elms, Carol? You like any of the elms?
Elms have a nice shape for the most part, but you still have to, I mean, the elm bark beetle is still not, hasn't gone the way of the dodo. It's still out there someplace. So,
Right.
I hesitate to plant an elm if you don't already have a program going to take care of them
Right.
and
The-
treat
Right.
them. So,
Can I make a suggestion? How about if we just go through Carol's list and then I can highlight the ones that are good, that everybody agrees with. And then we can go through John's list and see if what we're good with on that list. And then if there's anything that we want to add, I can add that to the bottom. So, because we can talk about trees all night. So.
I'd be happy to.
well, one of the things that we have to, so what I'm not quite sure. So we need, is this list going to be satisfactory or anybody's list going to be satisfactory for what the public might come to us to ask for? I don't know what people might come to us to ask for. Why are we can recommend trees, but
I kind of see our list is twofold. One, this is going to be the list that people are going to pull from if they have to plant replacement trees, is my understanding. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah, and then the other part of it is education and outreach is kind of like, here's a recommended list of trees to plant in your yard voluntarily. And then I think the other thing is, we're having to comply with the stormwater regulations. And so I'm assuming that at least some of these trees would be suitable for that. And there might be others, though, that we would have to add that are suitable to grow in wet areas or get periodically flooded. So I'm kind of seeing it from that perspective. Is that the right?
Yeah, I think that's a good perspective. I think the one thing, and if you are going to have trees that are not native, but do you think are all right, I know there's a big push, and that we've actually passed a resolution to focus on making sure that what we do are native plantings within the community.
Okay.
So we would just want to run that by the board and the EAC.
Well, could we
could note that they
specify that the only suitable trees for replacement for with respect to development must be native trees, and then maybe the ones that are non-native could be just suggestions for homeowners?
Yeah, but let me just verify how the resolution is written on that before. I mean, go ahead and put your list together, but before we publicize it, I just want to look at the resolution and how it fits.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
also the way you're going, Trish, I think is in addition to like my list, I made them, big, medium, and small, whether they were native or non-native. But I think there also needs to be, as you were saying, like trees that would be recommended for, basically for a wet area or for, I'm trying to think, there must be other things.
Like shady,
Underneath
shade,
power lines.
right?
Underneath power lines, something that's, flower, something that's flowering rather than fruiting or, so depending, there's tons of ways to list plants, but I think, wet conditions is one of the ones that we really should list on there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
This would be a series of drop-down boxes, right? On the website?
Oh, sure, why not?
I'm thinking it could be a table. It could be a table.
I think it might be more like a table.
Yeah.
Table, okay.
Yeah, banquet table. Gonna be a big table.
Yeah. And we can put the non-natives at the end. There's a lot of flowering non-natives.
I I think
Oh,
some of the surrounding communities, though, on their shade tree boards are really emphasizing native only. So I don't know if we want to be consistent with the other boards and things, but
also, I think one of the things was we need to, in addition to our positive tree list, we also need the list of trees that are invasive or trees that we do not recommend that you plant.
well, actually, one of our duties that's in the ordinance is that we must establish a list of invasive species. It's not even invasive trees, it's invasive species, and we're required to update that list every 5 years. So that's we haven't even touched on that yet.
No.
Are there lists around? I would imagine that other townships or the county might have, or
For what, invasives?
Sure.
I'm sure the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture has invasives.
Mhm.
I'm sure they do. Well, we know what the
Yeah.
list, the top of that one is.
Hey guys, hi, it's Sheila. I just want to interject. Penn State Extension has a list of all the invasives, and it has a really nice platform that you could share easily with the community.
Oh,
Okay.
thank you.
Great. Well, Steve, could we just link to that instead of reinventing the wheel, and then that way we wouldn't have to be responsible for updating it? Because it would be automatically updated, I guess, by Penn State. Is he still there?
Yeah, are you asking me? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We
So
can just double check with Penn State.
yeah, I want to just review the ordinance, how it's written, just to make sure that that's not a problem, but I don't think it's a problem.
Okay. Yeah, the ordinance just says that the commission shall establish a list of invasive species exempt from protection under this ordinance and update that list every 5 years. So I guess that is a little different. So
Yeah, but it may be that that's maybe one of those other things that we'll just throw into the changes in the ordinance. That we'll just write it a little differently so that it meets the need.
okay.
Like because obviously that would be a potential way to do that. That would probably be updated more often, and would probably, and we could maybe make it be that you would review it. That as a commission, you'll just review whatever it is. Let me just look at it, and there might be some ways to change the wording that gets the same thing done, but it allows you to just make reference to another list.
Right. I like that. Thanks, Sheila, for that suggestion.
Do we have a list of John's trees?
A list of what?
Didn't John
Yeah,
put the fourth
you-
one?
Oh, yeah. So, well, do we want to go through Carol's first, or are we all
Yeah.
okay with Carol's list?
I'm good with Carol's list.
All right. John,
Yeah,
do you want to take out, I know, but you're uncomfortable with the non-natives. Are you?
ru- well, let's just compare. My list is entirely natives.
Okay. All right. And then,
First.
okay. Where's Rob? Rob, are you good with it?
What's that?
With
Carol's?
Carol's list?
Sure. You can
Okay.
always add to it. I mean, any oak, any poplar, it doesn't matter to me,
Yeah.
native or non-native. I mean, look what happened to our ash trees and stuff like that, and all the bugs that attack the elms and stuff like that, all these native trees that over the years that a bug comes in from another country and just devastates our native trees because there's no,
Yeah, because they got.
you know
no
what I'm saying?
immune-
I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't hurt to have non-natives in there just in case something happens to one strain. I mean, like you have oak decline, you have, sudden oak death and stuff like that. They're wiping trees out,
Bacterial leaf scorch. All the above, right?
Okay. All right, so here's John's list. Can you guys see this okay, or do I need to make it any larger?
I can see
No,
it.
I can see.
It's good.
I mean, everything I would take out of there is probably river birch.
Okay.
I don't know. You plant them, you don't have to worry them, and they don't die. From a financial
Yeah, but they-
standpoint, it's great.
It's
Yeah,
it's
but you
a
end up
nice
cutting them
tree.
down.
It's a nice tree. It takes wet soil. The only problem is it's always dropping something.
Yeah,
So-
I got a big one out in front of my house. Love it. Huge.
Yeah,
Well, let's leave it in.
we just planted
can
two of
stay.
them. So, I think it would be good. So maybe if we, when we do our table, we just say that, you know, obviously isn't good underneath power lines. It's not good under this. And and then we could also add maybe like a comments column to say, here's some of the, or maybe a pros and cons of that tree, you know, oh, it's
Yeah.
it's got this, that, and the other, just so that people have a quick and dirty one snapshot so they can
Yeah.
evaluate it.
It's a good
Yeah,
idea.
One of the trees that I have some reservations about now is in the area, the way things are going with the climate. I don't plant sugar maples anymore because,
really?
you know, the climate is warming up and they're really not very happy. We have had a lot of ones that we've been planting lately have been having some problems because they don't like, it's like planting a hemlock. Yeah, the Canada hemlock might be the Pennsylvania state tree, but it doesn't like the Philadelphia area at all.
No, too
Sure
far
doesn't.
south.
And the sugar maple is sort of like the same thing. The problem is there's not a whole lot of maples, native maples, other than red maple, which I said the lanternfly adore, and silver maple, which sort of is a weak wooded, sort of a trashy tree, and
Yeah.
Acer negundo, which is the box elder. So we don't have the best of maples left anymore that really like the conditions that we have around here.
There's a
Well,
lot
then-
of nice cultivars of red maple, though. Are any of them resistant?
I don't know. I think the trees will last a lot longer than the bug does, I'm sure.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
they-
the lanternfly, from what they're saying, up where it started, up there near
Reading
Waretown area,
Yeah.
Reading,
have
they
disappeared
hardly
up there.
have any at all this year.
Yeah, my cousin
It
has an
went through like a
apple.
4-year cycle, and it's
Yeah.
gone. They're gone. They can't believe how much they dropped off. Now, I don't know if it's just a cycle to come back or it just ran its cycle.
Yeah,
know?
no, I have a cousin who has an apple orchard up there, and for years, and then all of a sudden, nothing, and then all of a sudden his ash trees all started dying. So it's just one thing after another for him.
Mhm.
Well, the ash tree's been known for years, so that's his own
Yeah.
fault on the ash trees.
Yeah, well, his property had nothing but ashes, pretty much, and a gorgeous shagbark hickory.
Hmm.
So how about if we keep it on the list, but if we have that pros and cons, we just add that comment of some of the challenges that we're seeing with the sugar maple. What do you guys think?
I like that. I don't want to
Yeah.
get rid of it.
Okay,
I'm in favor of that. Yep.
I want to move further north so I can grow them.
all right. All right, anything else?
No, I love them all.
Oh, they work.
All
Gives
right,
people plenty of choices.
I mean, I wouldn't consider a holly a shade tree. I mean, I know they
Well,
grow big, but it's
America-
not exactly a shade tree, but
Yeah,
Well, these are just trees. They're not necessarily shade trees. It's if someone comes to us and I want a small flowering tree, you know, or
yeah, again, so that could be part of the pros and cons, not a shade tree, but it's one of those that could be suitable in some areas. It's a
It's an
good,
evergreen.
yeah, it's
I
an
have a-
evergreen,
I
it's
just want a
fine, it's
decorative tree.
pretty, and
yeah.
it's native.
I have
Yeah.
American holly on mine too, only I call it Ilex opaca.
That's what
well,
throws
that's
us.
because you're
Karen.
fancy.
Right there. Okay, anything we want to add?
Oh.
I'm good.
Well, I have American elm on mine and she doesn't.
Well, that's okay. I'm combining, I would suggest that we
Okay.
combine these lists.
Okay, good.
So it's just, that was at the bottom of the page. And so if
Yeah.
somebody wanted me to add something, I could.
I would have put sour gum on my list, but I didn't think of it. And
Okay.
I asked Sylvatica to you.
I'm going to go with sour gum.
Sour gum is fun.
All
Hey,
right.
Trish, no,
Isn't this a
Is there-
Sylvatica?
What, Tom?
the Yoshinos, is that part of the Prunus Supertella?
The who?
Yoshino cherries?
The
It's,
who?
On
it's
Carol's list? The Prunus right there, see it?
Prunus, that's
okay,
Prunus
here.
subvertella.
Supertella, is the Yoshinos in that list or no? Part of that group?
No, there's a whole lot of different cherry species. I just only picked one. Because this, yeah, one of the subvertellas is autumnalis, which blooms in the spring and the fall, which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
But they,
That's-
they're short-lived, they're messy,
yeah.
but if somebody wanted a flowering cherry, we could, suggest this one.
Popular.
Yeah,
Oh, what about
Add it.
American cherry? The lumber tree, Prunus.
little messy.
All trees
Yeah,
are
but the
messy.
birds love it. When,
That's true.
if you want
I
to
wouldn't want
attract
it, I wouldn't
birds.
want it, I wouldn't want it as a street tree. I wouldn't want it next to my driveway where I park my car. But
True.
if you want to stick one in the edge of your woodlands, you could do that. But I mean,
I don't even know if they grow them. Do they? They even propagate them?
Oh, sure, you can get them. Well,
Like a black cherry? I don't know.
yeah, well, I got some, but I went all the way to Missouri and got a,
check out Redbud Nursery.
and got 50 of them.
What else?
Oh, boy.
Did you get them signed off by the Department of Agriculture when you brought them across state lines?
He'll
Uh,
have 100, he'll have 150 of them 2 years from now.
Well, I planted them all in one spot, so if they want to fill in, they can.
Yes, he did, Rob. Of course he got permission.
Sure he did.
That's the right answer. Yes, of course he did. Okay.
Because you know how the ash borer got to Pennsylvania on a tractor trailer from the Midwest and up into Doylestown.
Mm,
And they planted them at a hotel site.
mm.
Okay. Any other trees?
Yeah, sorry, I checked out there. I'm looking for the email that somebody sent me. Hang on. Go ahead, Trish, take over.
Well, we're just adding trees that might be good. So how about,
You can put under somewhere with the oaks, either on John's list or mine, you can add, other oaks. There are plenty of beautiful other oaks that can be added in.
Yeah,
okay.
Carol, what's there, 600 different varieties of oaks?
Yeah, pretty much. I
but
think you
we're
can,
only doing the American one.
bless you, I can only get about 620 of them in the trade, though.
All right, I'm back.
Did you find it?
I did, but let's get through the list first
Okay.
before we do. Let's
Okay.
go. Let's move on. Are we good with this? We gotta,
Well,
Yeah.
I think we have an action item that we need a volunteer. I think we all agreed that a table would be good. Does somebody want to volunteer to take a stab at drafting the table? And then filling in maybe some of the fields? Because we were going with suitable, so we were going to split out the list for the natives, and then we would have in the list, on that table, it says we'd have a checklist if it's suitable for trees and what areas, under power lines, shade, have pros and cons. So it sounds like I have an idea of what this table should look like, so maybe I should do it.
Well, you
I agree.
totally-
I vote.
You talked yourself into that one, Trish. No, I'll work with you. As a matter of fact, when I created this list, I had actually done sort of a handmade table myself with tree name, common name, botanic name, common name, a feature, whether it's, not happy, possible disease, it has big nuts, hard to transplant, whatever, and a nativity column. But I'll work with you on it and we'll see
Okay.
what we can come up with.
All right, awesome.
All
Hey,
right.
Carol or Trish.
Yes, dear.
I have a book that's from like Princeton Nursery from years ago, and it lists all the size of the trees and what they are and stuff like that. I could get you that old catalog if you want. And
Okay,
then plus there's a municipal shade tree catalog also that I have. I could give you a book
all right.
you guys can go through.
Bro, it's very easy to do it online too.
Yeah,
Oh,
and yeah, we can when we can share it with you if you want to go ahead and fill it in whatever you want to fill in too. I mean, we can share it. I can, once Carol and I get a draft, maybe we can share it with you guys. And then if we can't reply all, but if you would just make your comments individually, then send them to Carol, since she's secretary, and then we'll consolidate it.
Works for me.
I'm also thinking we don't want to have, if we divide it down into, that's sort of like what I did, I divided into smaller lists, like I only put like 5 or 6 plants under each category. So that if you give a big long list that people will get overwhelmed.
Right.
But you can say, I'm looking for a big tree for wet. And then you can find, it's like, oh, this tree is in, but okay, I can use this. Just so it's doesn't seem to be overwhelming to the people that can't do DBH.
Gotcha.
Right.
All right. Well, I'll be in touch, Carol, and we can get together and knock this
Yeah,
out.
if you break it
We'll-
into sections, it'll be easier for people.
If it stays this warm, we'll sit by it at opposite ends of your pool and work on it.
That sounds good. All right.
Are
All
we
right,
good?
Tom, I think we're ready to move on to the next.
Ready to
item.
move on? All right.
Yes.
So we're just that just gets moved forward, right?
Yeah,
Open
you
for
can just
discussion
move
next
forward.
meeting.
We'll just leave it as an open item. There was no decision, no definite decision made, but there's action items that came out, and you can just leave it as an open item.
Got it. All right. So 11.5, discussion about stop work order at Walnut and College.
Yeah, I think I owe you
February
some.
16th.
Yeah, I owe you some information on that, and I don't have it with me. I will get it to you, and when I get back in town.
Sounds good.
All right.
Table it.
Yep. I'm just making notes. All right, 11.6. Discussion about heritage tree designation. Further discussion regarding formal documentation. Where do we leave off with that?
Well, I think one of the things that we were interested in was, so if somebody has a tree, I mean, my neighbor over here, he has a really big white oak in his on the property line there. I'm thinking of going over and measuring it. But there's a thing where, you sort of have to ask somebody if they want their tree, if they have a big tree, if they want it as a heritage tree. Apparently, is that what the ordinance said something about? Because if they have to follow certain regulations or have to go through certain permits if they have a heritage tree. I think it's for removal and pruning. Is there anything else?
I think that's the two main things. It's any significant pruning and and if it's going to be removed.
So, so basically we sort of have, is what I'm seeing is we sort of have to, if you're going by and you see a person that's a yard that has, because they don't know about us, so we have to look for them. if you see someone has a thing, say, well, I'd like to measure your tree as a heritage tree for the township. It looks like it's big enough, but you have to be aware of what the regulations are if it's designated as a heritage tree. And do we
Yeah, I
want to, we really need to put some sort of a positive spin on it so that we have to come up with a good sales pitch, because we don't want them to say, well, I don't want it to be a heritage tree if I have to go through all that.
Right.
See what I mean?
Mhm.
Yep.
Well, if they wanted to or not, it is. Under the definition, even if it's not designated, it still is. Correct?
Yes.
To us, it is, yeah.
Well, I mean,
Well,
just
but
in
it is
general.
for purposes of doing the work on it. I think the thing that we were looking at for the part of the heritage tree designation that we were looking for was just having a kind of a complete list of all the trees in town that meet those specifications. And but yeah, it is the way the ordinance is written. If they're going to take the action, they need to do it whether it's designated or not. It does require a permit to do the work, whether it's designated or not,
Because it is a big tree.
Correct.
because it is a heritage tree.
Like the tree that's behind Carol right now.
Oh, that's definitely more than 36 inches, but it's not in our township. It's in Haverford Township, actually.
Well, if something's,
Haverford.
if something's clearly a heritage tree within 30 feet of the
Carway.
street, is it our responsibility irregardless?
Yes. My understanding is if it's a shade tree, it doesn't matter. It falls under your responsibility.
So, I mean, we
Should we try to
could,
list all those?
I'm sorry.
Should we do a survey and try and, sounds like a big job, a survey and try and locate all the big trees?
Yeah, I think this
30
is
feet?
going to be something that happens over time, and not something that I think it's going to be a public education process.
Mhm.
Letting people know that we're looking for those, and once it might be one of those things that we do some maybe like do a thing at the farmers market that's coming up, that one time you guys would take a table and just put information out about shade trees, but specifically about heritage trees. And if I have somebody standing next to one, it'll give me an idea that one on my property might be or might not be, right? And some things like that, particularly if it's one that's kind of close in size versus the one that's like, yeah, there's no question that that's a heritage tree. But one that's makes it so that it just becomes something that people see, and then we start that education process. We start putting it out in the newsletters on a regular basis. Register your heritage tree, and and maybe we make some fun out of it, and maybe we do maybe one of the things that from this group is that we would every quarter when we do the newsletter, there would be a short little thing about one of the heritage trees in the community and who owns it, and we would give them a picture and why the tree is such a great thing for them or something, and some ways to kind of make it that we recognize it, and and maybe we want to even go to the fact that we would get some tree labels and label what it is, and then maybe do a plaque. I don't know. I'm just thinking of some things that over time we could do to help people feel like we were making a bigger deal about it.
I think anyone with a heritage tree should get a little certificate that says what their tree
Sure.
is. Yay, Trish gets the first one. What their tree is, how big it is, when it was measured, and it's like what number heritage tree it is in the county.
Yeah, I mean, I think those are all really, really great ideas, because I think you have to incentivize people to want to protect those trees. And I love your ideas, Steve, about, having it featured in the newsletter, and then maybe keeping a running list. And I mean, when the weather gets nicer and stuff, as we go around, maybe that's something that we can do either individually or in teams. We could divvy up the township and just do drive-bys, and just kind of get a sense of where some of the really big trees are, and maybe where we want to reach out to homeowners.
Yep.
One street at a time.
Yep.
So Trish, I'm gonna forward you this on that topic. I can forward you this email from Paul Selgson that he sent me. It talks about the meetings that are coming up. If I forward it to you, can you put it up on your screen?
Oh yeah, sure.
Can you do?
Mm-hmm.
Hold on, give me a sec here. It's a gather in the circle,
Yeah.
and right? Is that what you're talking about, Steve?
Yes.
Hey, Trish,
We're
I
gathering.
have two emails for you, Trish. Which one do you want me to send?
Send it to my personal.
Which one?
Trish Adams 5279 @gmail.
Coming. It's coming over because it talks
Right.
about the farmer's market, the pop-up garden and pop-up park, May 15th to the 29th.
Yep.
Ooh,
I don't know. I don't know what all that's about, but I said I'd bring it up at our next meeting.
Yeah, it's a good
Okay.
opportunity, particularly with the, pop-up park and pop-up garden. It might be an opportunity to, get some information out about the Shade Tree Commission, the fact that it exists, that, and really start pushing what some of the things are that you're doing, but focus on the heritage trees, and that you're trying to create that list. And, maybe, if we take that as an example, take the one from Trish and, have her with the picture of her tree and what it is and where it's located. And, it's just that we're kind of starting this record and, make it a positive thing. And then if you guys want to create a certificate, like what you'd like to see it say on it, we'll go ahead and we'll have some certificate paper and a seal, and we'll put something together for you that you can look at. And then if you want to do that, and then we can get those and, maybe put them in a frame or something and get something like that to people.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
If we're
So
gonna
can
do something
everybody
like-
see the email from Paul?
Yeah, if we're gonna do something like that, I don't suppose there's time by May 29th to get our list of approved and recommended and not recommended trees that we could just hand out.
I don't
I
know.
think you could.
Trish and I can do it.
We'll have it ready by next meeting.
Okay.
Are we starting to go to every other after
You're
this one?
going,
Every other
you
month.
were,
yeah.
but you were, but if you feel like you want to have another meeting in April, we'll go ahead and I'll go ahead and advertise for it, and you can meet if you want to try to be ready to do something for that event.
I think we have some big ticket agenda items we need to wrap up, and getting this list, I think, is super important. So
That'd be
I would be all for having a April meeting.
I'm in agreement with that. I just don't know. I should be able to make that one because once April, May, June is my busiest time of year, but I should be able to. April, it just depends what goes on weather-wise, but if I
Come on,
can't make it,
Tom,
I'll
you're
let
the
you
boss. You don't work.
guys.
Isn't that whatever you say?
Yeah.
You're the owner of the business. You don't work.
Yeah, I wish that were the case. Yeah, it's not. But I will make every effort to be here. I'm all for it. I think we need to continue this momentum. I don't think we should stop.
I agree.
Me three.
All right.
John, Rob, you okay with that?
That's fine.
Yeah, depending on the date, because I come back from Tucson and towards the end of April. So I'd be on.
So it would be this, let me think, this is a Thursday, it's the second Thursday, so it'd be the second Thursday.
Oh, no problem.
That would be the 8th.
So another meeting on the 8th, April 8th?
Yep,
Yep, I'll advertise it.
6:30. Hey,
Okay.
Steve, where do these actually are the public notices published? Where are they published?
They're published in the Delaware County Times.
Okay,
And then in addition to that, they're on our website.
okay.
Okay.
Okie doke. All right, well, so Paul's asking us to advise, so I'm trying to figure out what his question is.
Yeah, I didn't understand it either.
All right, so that would take 5 trees.
So let me try to interpret Paul language for you. What was the statement that he asked? And then I'll tell you what I think he's wanting.
Oh, you can't see this. I'm like, well, it's right here on this.
I can't, I'm on a phone.
He says, so I'm the co-chair for the new committee, Gather in the Circle, with the idea to improve attractiveness and pedestrian quality of St. Albans Circle. We'll be having 3 projects in 2021. They are the Farmers Market beginning in June, Pop-Up Garden and Pop-Up Park, May 15th through May 29th on some now asphalt surface, traffic calming and pedestrian crosswalks and walkways. Zeroing in on Pop-Up Park, that would take the form of 5 trees and pots, perhaps loaned or leased from Varieties, or perhaps the committee would buy them. Do we have a budget?
No, I think it's his committee.
Oh, his committee. Oh, okay. Would buy them, in which case we would like to showcase native trees and they would be available for planting after May 29th. And I was thinking the Shade Tree Commission might want to be involved with the species suggestion. Okay. And final resting place location after the pop-up park is gone. Please advise.
Yeah.
So he's
Okay.
asking for a location and plant list.
Yeah, I think he's looking at for the native tree list and where we would possibly plant them within the township.
Within the township, or are they planting around St. Albans?
Well, it depending on what's available, like some of the challenge at St. Albans is there's a ton of concrete. And right now there's not a lot of open space to plant much of anything. So it may not be, depending on how many different trees they have for this pop-up park, we may not have enough space right around St. Albans.
Okay. Gotcha.
I mean, ideally, that would be where we would want to plant them, but I'm not so sure. If you go over and look at that, you'll see that there's a tremendous amount of concrete over there. There's just not a lot of green space.
Within the circle, right?
When are they going to take
Excuse
the
me?
concrete out?
Within the circle you're talking about?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not talking about the circle itself, because the circle itself, we're working on, I think ultimately there's a potential that we're going to put a gazebo in the circle itself at some point. So we want to be careful what we plant there, if we're going to do that, because we don't want to have to rip something out that we just planted.
Why would you put a gazebo
it-
there? That's a hell of a busy circle.
Well, I think we're going to try to slow some of the traffic down around that circle and make it make it more of a center of town kind of a place for people to go, is what the idea is. That's the whole
Sort of
idea
fun-
to gather in the circle committee.
Sort of funny to have a circle being the center of Newtown Square.
Yeah, I
Agreed.
know.
I haven't figured that one
We-
out yet. I'm still trying to find the square in Newtown Square.
Well, so do you know how it was determined that it was a square?
Well, I
No.
know that, well, there's
On the original
Newtown
map,
and
right?
Newtown's- I know William Penn designed
It
them,
actually
but-
how William Penn laid it out. So the reason there's two Newtowns in Pennsylvania. There's
Yeah, Bucks
Newtown
County and
here,
us.
and there's and Bucks County. And Bucks County was done on a wagon wheel basis, and Newtown was done on a grid basis. Although I don't know what I think on some of it, but but it was
Somebody
supposedly on
screwed
a
it up
grid
along
basis.
the way.
Yeah, but that was the original. That's originally what how William Penn laid the two out.
I wish they'd bring it back. I like squares, especially since it's in our name.
Well,
We'll
I'll
see.
make a note of that. Make
We'll
the
just
circle.
cha-
Make the circle a square.
Either that or we'll change the
At
town
least-
name to Newtown Circle.
At least make the pedestrian walkway square around the circle.
Yeah.
Which I don't know why.
exactly.
Yeah, I don't know why you would want to encourage more foot traffic around that circle, but okay. You know,
Well,
If
but
you
I
want
think we're trying to also discourage some of the car traffic. So if we do that, does that help encourage foot traffic?
so if
Because
you're
right
going to
now
do
we
that,
don't.
well,
Yep.
I use that a lot, right? And why do I use that? Because the light up at 252 and Route 3 is a mess. That's why I
Yeah.
use that. I cut through there all the time because it takes forever. Certain
Yep.
times of the day. So if you can
Yep.
improve the traffic situation up there, everybody's more inclined to go straight.
And construction
that's
doesn't
the
help
goal.
it.
Yeah.
That is the goal.
Hey, Tom, how do you think I feel? On Bishop Hollow Road, they make an arrow now. You can't turn when there's no traffic coming. I don't
Oh,
know
yeah,
whose brainy idea that was.
Oh, yeah.
After,
I don't know who
after
did
50
that. That was
years,
silly.
now you can't turn when the light's green.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's the
I
same
know. I
thing. It's
saw
my
that.
street
That
too,
was like-
Rob. Same thing. You got to wait
Stupid.
for the arrow. Really?
I
I'm
don't
the
know who
only car in the
designed it.
intersection. Wait for the arrow? Really?
Hey,
Yeah,
Rob,
that was
go
a
up,
PennDOT move.
Rob,
Needless
go
to
up
say, I
Ellis-
don't wait for it.
Go up Ellis instead.
Hey, Rob, I'm the same way. I think we're grandfathered in. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I figured.
That's funny.
Let us know
Yeah.
how that works out for you.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I did it
So
the
far,
one night
so
during a
good.
snowstorm, and the cop was sitting right there in the intersection and saw me do it. He didn't do nothing.
Well, it makes no sense. It's like, why?
No,
why
it's
do I
stupid.
have to sit here? I'm
It's
worried about
stupid.
getting
You're trying to
rear-ended.
make- Oh my God, you're trying to make traffic flow, and then you put a red light where the traffic backs up to 252 because you can't turn on Bishop Hollow Road when there's no cars coming the other way. Stupid.
I see some more township work for us in the future.
We're gonna morph into the traffic cop committee.
Yes, we'll
Morph into the
expand our authority.
We'll put that in the ordinance change.
Yeah,
That's a
gonna
great
fix
darn right.
idea.
Goofy, no turn on reds and arrows.
Sidebar.
Except for Rob Vanicola.
Thank you. I'll second that.
All right, what else do we have to talk about? It's
That's
late.
it.
That's it.
Unless you want to say something, that's-
All
Right?
right, hold on. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. Okay.
So I guess Paul Sullivan comes under,
That's it.
uh-oh, we're keeping John awake here. I guess that's,
Just
I guess,
barely.
I guess,
Well,
Paul-
we do
Paul
have to,
Sullivan-
so we're having the meeting in April, and we'll have the list for John. So Tom, are you gonna respond back to Paul to let him know that we will be providing him a list, and we'll be happy
Yep.
to help out with suggested locations?
Sure.
Okay,
I will do that tomorrow.
if everyone's in agreement of that. Okay. All right, now I think we're done.
We done?
For that one,
You
anyway.
sure?
I think. What else is on the agenda?
All right.
Well, does Paul
Shall
Seligson,
we have any?
wait a minute, my turn.
Oh, go ahead.
Just
Sorry,
Paul.
sorry, Carol, sorry.
Does Paul Seligson email come under new business, or is this a continuation of 11.6?
I would, well, it's kind of a combo, right?
Well,
I would, I
it's
think I would
12.
just put it under new business.
All right, thank you. All right, got it. Just so I know how to write it up. Okay, cool.
All right, and then we have, so the next thing is, commission comment. Is that public comment?
Well, it could be public. You
I don't
could
think
take public comment since you haven't yet, I don't think.
Me.
And then the other thing would be is if
Before
you
that.
all have any comments that you would want to make, just in general.
No?
Nope, I'm good.
I'd like to hear though if Sheila has
Everybody
any.
good?
Well, does Sheila have any comments? Does she want to add anything?
Oh, hi, guys. You've all been great and listening to everything. Love all your suggestions. I know a lot of people would be interested if we could, especially in the areas of Greer Park and the wetlands and Brookside, if you can break down trees specifically, that would be good for, there's the stream that goes through Fox's Run for the riparian buffers, because we're trying to get a lot of neighborhood attention to develop their own riparian buffers since the stream goes through private yards. So when you make your list, can you make suggestions for specific wetland areas? And I know you said some things about the river birch not being preferred, but it is great back there for the wet areas. So we definitely want to encourage that. And actually, I would love when you have a chance to catch your breath with what you're doing with the ordinance for EAC with Cindy, and I would like to kind of get together with you and talk about that, maybe doing a tree inventory program, because we did a lot of the research before and you were just getting started. So we wanted to give you a chance to catch your breath before we bombarded you with a list of to-dos. So whenever you feel like you've got your bearings and your footings secure, we can kind of go through that, because that would really be helpful to take an overall tree inventory of all the parks and all the public property that we have. That would be crucial. And we've done some homework for you. We've got some platforms and some software that would be able to make it an easy process for you.
Oh,
We should be ready about what, 2023?
Well, if it makes you feel any better, we have things with Greer Park, EAC, and Parks and Rec that, keep us busy as well. So, and God bless us, we're all volunteers. So all good
Yeah.
stuff, but you guys are doing great. Congratulations. You're doing phenomenal, and can't wait to see, how you're going to protect our forestation in Newtown Square.
thanks, Sheila.
Great.
Thanks, Sheila.
Yep, thanks, Sheila. All right, are we good?
I think so.
Motion to adjourn?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Go, all right.
All right,
Well done.
thank you all.
This meeting has concluded.
And
All
Steve,
right.
Steve will
Yep.
make sure to let
Good
us
night,
know
Steve.
when our
Thanks,
next
George.
meeting is.
Yep, April
yeah.
8th at 6:30.
Got it.
All right. Awesome.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Good
All
night.
right,
All right,
Bye.
Good
thanks,
night.
guys.
thank you.
Later.